Started. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host Shubham Sawant and welcome to Shubham Super Techie. Now, it's been a while since I've uploaded, but I realized one thing that's coming up, and that is the new PS5 and the Xbox Series 1 or Series X, Xbox Series X. Yeah. So it's been a while since I've uploaded any videos, and throughout that time it got me thinking. With the new Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5 coming up, is there any changes that have been made in the way we interact with consoles? I mean, you have your controller, you have your system, you have the sensor and whatnot, and you have your games, and your television, of course. But apart from that, it hasn't really changed much since how we interact with consoles. Now, there is one exception throughout history, and that is, well, what you see there behind my shoulder, and that is the original Wii. So, without further ado, let's get started. So, as I gracefully grab the Wii here, this changed how we at least interacted with games. Now, before that, you had your controller, you had the game, you had the television, and you had the console. Pretty standard stuff. But this sort of, I wouldn't say broke, or at least had a different direction, but it went a step above. So, this is the main console. As you can see, pretty dirty and pretty dusty, because it's been, what, oh gosh, 10, 11 years we've had this. But once I clean it though, it still looks pretty modern. It doesn't really look old-fashioned. And yeah, it is a clean, white, clean aesthetic look. Not too many buttons, not too many logos or whatnot, just typical Nintendo logo here, and a few slots behind for your video in and your ATIs. Up here you have your SD card reader. Not that, today's video gamers use SD cards for their consoles. And now, of course, in the back you had your fan, you had your 2 USB ports, and that's basically it. Now, for Nintendo fans, this might be a bit familiar, because if you open up the panel, as I gracefully do, you can see multiple ports. And if you're big Nintendo fans, you would know that these are exactly the same as your GameCube ports. And that's because the Wii can do backwards compatibility with almost all GameCube games. But that was only for the first edition of the Wii. As I recall, the later editions of the Wii weren't backwards compatible with the GameCube. So yeah, you can input your GameCube controller in these slots, up to 4 players, and then over here you had your 2 additional memory slots. So with that, it's pretty clean design. Now, of course, this wasn't the only thing. You also had this additional stand here with this round, very dirty stand. And let's see if I can do this gracefully. Yeah. So this, in essence, was the look of your console. And then one other thing that was a bit separate. Now, most consoles today, they have their sensors for the wireless controller built into the system, but the Wii had its wireless sensor separately. This was the wireless stand. So yeah, I mean pretty conventional, nothing out of the ordinary, but the only thing was is that this was separately compared to the console. So, and a ginormous wire, which I guess makes sense, but this was your sensor. And as for the controller, now that's the main sort of selling point of the Wii. Unlike your traditional controllers where you have your two grips and all your controls on there, this was based off of a remote, obviously. The idea being for the Wii is that you can basically move around, swing your arm left and right, forward, backwards, what have you, and basically be more active rather than sitting down and sort of playing, on a couch. So overall, again, this was back in 2008, 2009 when this came out. This was an extremely clean design, and overall the modern systems that you see, I wouldn't say relate, but sort of have come to what the original Wii's design was, which is to have a very simple, clean, elegant design. Now, if you guys know me pretty well, you know that I'm an avid racer. I love racing games, and in specific, for Wii, there was one game that really stood out and probably stood out for you guys as well, because that game was the second best game in the Wii lineup, which sold about 35.5 million units, if I'm not mistaken. And that is this guy, Mario Kart Wii. And boy, oh boy, if you're familiar with Wii, this is probably with you at this moment. And yeah, this was a good game. Now, I'll be completely honest with you. I wasn't much of a Mario fan. I know, gasp. But I wasn't much of a Mario fan. But heck, when it comes to racing, Mario and Luigi, man, they have a place in my heart. And having a racing game with the Wii, you also know that you would have to have the wheel. And this is now your controller. So not only did you have a remote that was different from your conventional controllers back then, but you also had accessories to go on with it. Now the feedback you can get was really nice. You obviously have a low speaker here, and you can, so when you're playing Mario Kart, you can hear the thumps and thuds that you can get when you're bouncing out different players, and you can also get the vibration feedback. Now the vibration feedback isn't great compared to today's modern controllers, which was pretty understandable. But overall, it was still a pretty good controller. Now there was, I'll be honest, there is a bit of latency compared to modern controllers, but that was to be expected back then. So with that was a quick-ish look at the original Wii. Now, I'm curious, do you guys have a Wii? Or do you guys even remember what the Wii was or what it looked like before I showed you guys? Did you know that the Wii existed? I mean, shoot, some kids probably don't even remember at this point. So thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it. Give it a thumbs down if you disliked it. And don't worry, my heart won't be broken one bit externally. But until then, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.